Hello and welcome to South Asia Today, a show that provides you the glimpses of South Asia. I'm your host, Shivangi Mishra. Let's begin with the headlines first. Enhanced infrastructure and skill development initiatives transform opportunities for Jharkhand's tribal youth. India, Nepal, Bangladesh signed trilateral agreement to facilitate power export from Nepal to Bangladesh. And devotees in India and Nepal celebrate Navratri with fervour. Let's begin the show. Jharkhand, one of India's youngest states, is vital for its tribal communities. Once facing challenges in accessing basic amenities, the state is now fostering inclusive growth. Increased investments in infrastructure are improving access to education, healthcare, and employment for tribal populations, paving the way for a more prosperous and equitable future.
Described as the land of forests, Jharkhand is home to over 32 tribal groups, known as Adivasis, who lead minimalist lifestyles and rely on forest produce for their needs. Historically, these communities, often in remote areas, have struggled to access basic amenities. However, both the government and NGOs are now working towards their empowerment. Improvements in primary healthcare, road connectivity, tribal institutions, and education are helping ensure overall development. Schools are transforming with smart classes, gym facilities, and new sports like archery, encouraging more tribal children to pursue education and break the cycle of poverty.
मैंने विद्यालय 2019 में ज्वाइन किया था। तब तो यहाँ बिल्कुल ही फैसिलिटीज़ नहीं थी, ना स्मार्ट क्लास थे, ना ही बेंच डेस्क की भी सुविधा बहुत अच्छी नहीं थी। मेरे आने के बाद गवर्नमेंट की तरफ से भी हम लोग को बेंच डेस्क मिला, 4 या 5 स्मार्ट क्लास, पहले तो एक मिला ICT लैब, एक इंस्ट्रक्टर मिला उसको चलाने के लिए, फिर उसके बाद अलग अलग से और हम लोग को बहुत सारा स्मार्ट क्लास मिला और हम लोग को भी प्रशिक्षण दिया गया, तो हम लोग फिर उसको अच्छे से कर पा रहे हैं। इसके अलावा खेलने के लिए बच्चों को बहुत सारी सामग्री दी गई, वो भी स्टार्टिंग में नहीं था, धीरे धीरे वो आ रहा है। तो अब बच्चे मतलब उनका उपस्थिति बढ़ रहा है कि खेल को देखकर, स्मार्ट क्लास को देखकर, साथ ही साथ उनका रिजल्ट भी इम्प्रूव हुआ है। मतलब अभी हमारे बच्चे कहाँ 90% एवं मार्क्स स्कोर कर रहे हैं और परसेंटेज भी बढ़ा है।
The major tribes in Jharkhand, Santhal, Oraon, Munda, Ho, and Khadiya, constitute nearly 26% of the state's population. Institutions like the Tribal Research Institute in Ranchi are dedicated to preserving the region's art and culture while improving the community's well-being. The institute plays a crucial role in ensuring that policies and programs designed for tribal populations positively impact their lives.
हम लोगों ने यहाँ पे झारखंड में 32 जनजाति जो है उसमें 8 PVTG समुदाय की भी जनजाति यहाँ पे निवास करती है। तो हम लोगों ने उस पर प्राइमर तैयार किया है। प्राइमर मतलब कि बाल पुस्तिका, क्योंकि ये जो 8 जनजाति है वहाँ अभी उतना साहित्य नहीं है, उसमें पढ़े लिखे लोग हमको कम मिलते हैं और इस समुदाय का अपना चूँकि कोई साहित्य नहीं है तो वहाँ पे वो लैंग्वेज उतनी मतलब लिटरेचर कोई अवेलेबल नहीं होने के कारण वो अभी डायलेक्ट के रूप में ही है, वो बोली के रूप में ही है, तो उसको संकलन किया है TRI ने।
In addition to actively collaborating with the government and NGOs to preserve the state's culture and traditions, the Tribal Research Institute offers free classes for civil services and other competitive examinations to tribal individuals aspiring to build careers in these fields. Candidates also have access to library facilities and scholarships to support their education and preparation.
आजकल हम लोग देखते हैं कि बहुत भीड़ भाड़ जगह है और लोगों को पढ़ने के लिए एक पीसफुल जगह चाहिए, तो इसमें फ्री लाइब्रेरी की सुविधा है जहां हमारे जैसे ट्राइबल लड़के लोग लड़कियां लोग आके पढ़ सकते हैं और इसमें कोई फीस उस चार्ज नहीं है, सिर्फ रजिस्ट्रेशन कराना पड़ता है। और इस इंस्टीट्यूट में जेपीएससी और सिविल सर्विस का क्लास भी प्रोवाइड कराया जाता है, वो भी निःशुल्क।
पिछले मैं 6 मंथ से इस इंस्टीट्यूट से जुड़ी हुई हूँ। यहाँ हम जैसे बच्चों के लिए खासकर ट्राइबल्स के लिए जो प्रोग्राम्स चलाए जा रहे हैं वो बहुत ही बेनिफिशियल है। बिकॉज़ मैं पिछले 6 मंथ से, जैसे कि मैं बता रही हूँ, जुड़ी हुई हूँ। तो यहाँ पे मैं सेल्फ स्टडी के थ्रू मैंने जेपीएससी क्लियर किया। उसके बाद यहाँ पे क्लासेस स्टार्ट कराए गए जेपीएससी के लिए स्पेशली, जैसे सीजीएल के लिए भी कराए गए। वो मुझे बहुत ज़्यादा बेनिफिशियल रहा। और वो क्लासेस अभी भी कंटिन्यू है।
Through these activities, TRIs act as a bridge between tribal communities and policymakers, ensuring that the voices of indigenous groups are heard in the development process. Additionally, various skill development programs, scholarships, and schemes like Prime Minister's Skill Development Scheme provide comprehensive support for tribal youth in Jharkhand, promoting education, skill development, and entrepreneurial opportunities while preserving their cultural identity.
In a landmark move, India, Nepal and Bangladesh have signed a trilateral agreement to export 40 megawatts of electricity from Nepal to Bangladesh via India's power grid. This historic agreement, signed in Kathmandu, marks Nepal's first electricity export to a third country, expanding its energy trade beyond India. Officials from all three nations hailed the development, envisioning enhanced regional cooperation and energy security. The deal was signed by top officials from the Nepal Electricity Authority, India's NTPC Vidyut Vyapar Nigam, and Bangladesh Power Development Board.
India, Nepal, and Bangladesh signed a trilateral agreement to export 40 megawatts of electricity from Nepal to Bangladesh via India's power grid, a development hailed and welcomed by officials of all three nations involved. The tripartite agreement signed in Kathmandu now enables Nepal to sell electricity to a third country for the first time. Nepal has only been exporting electricity to India, its southern neighbor.
This achievement is the convenience of our persistent efforts since 2018, when Nepal and Bangladesh signed a MOU on power sector cooperation, and following 6 successful meetings of the Joint Working Group and Joint Steering Committee.
The agreement was signed by Kulman Ghising, Executive Director of the Nepal Electricity Authority, Renu Narang, CEO of India's NTPC Vidyut Vyapar Nigam, and Mohammad Rizal Karim, Chairman of Bangladesh Power Development Board, amid a function in Kathmandu. Energy Minister Deepak Khadka, Minister of State for Energy Purna Bahadur Tamang, and Bangladeshi Minister for Forest, Environment, Climate Change and Water Resources Saida Rizwana Hassan witnessed the signing of the deal.
This event is a milestone in our journey towards regional cooperation and shared prosperity in the energy sector. In Bangladesh, our goal is to ensure that all citizens have access to clean, safe, and reliable electricity at an affordable price. This not only supports our national growth aspirations, but also aligns with global commitments towards a more sustainable and environmentally responsible future.
As per the agreement, Bangladesh will now export 40 megawatts of electricity from Nepal. The Indian side has also been involved in the trade deal, as Nepal's electricity will be transmitted to Bangladesh through the transmission infrastructure on the Indian territory. Notably, Nepal and Bangladesh are not territorially linked to each other.
I am confident, therefore, that today's agreement between these three entities would boost power sector cooperation between Nepal, India, and Bangladesh. It would also signal to investors to invest in Nepal's hydropower sector because they would be assured of markets not just in India but also in Bangladesh now. The agreements signed today, therefore, would lead to greater energy security between our three countries.
Nepal is estimated to sell 144,000 megawatt hour of electricity in 5 months, mid-June to mid-November, at the rate of 6.4 US cents a unit. Originally scheduled for July 28, the signing was postponed due to political tension and a change of government in Bangladesh. For now, Nepal will transmit the energy to India through the 400 kilowatt Dhalkebar Muzaffarpur cross-border transmission line before India transmits the equivalent to Bangladesh. A Nepal-Bangladesh meeting also agreed to develop the Sunkoshi 3 hydropower project in a collaborative participatory modality between Nepal, Bangladesh and India. They have decided to finalize a joint venture agreement in the next meeting. The two sides have also agreed to conduct a technical and financial feasibility study of the proposed cross-border transmission line for energy trade between Nepal and Bangladesh.
Now we take a look at some happenings in Asia in a segment called Asia Watch.
Tibetan spiritual leader in exile, the Dalai Lama held a special teaching session for his Taiwanese followers in India's hill town of Dharamshala. He delivered sermons on Tibetan philosopher Tsongkhapa's 3 principal aspects of the path at the request of his followers from Taiwan. Thousands of devotees from across the world, including Singapore, Malaysia, Vietnam and Indonesia, thronged the Suglak Khang temple to attend the spiritual discourse. Earlier this month, monks and followers of the Dalai Lama held prayers for the spiritual leader and wished for his fast recovery after a successful knee surgery. The Dalai Lama fled from Lhasa for asylum in India in 1959 after an abortive uprising against Chinese rule. He has since lived mostly in the northern hill town, where his supporters run a small government in exile and advocate Tibet's autonomy by peaceful means. South Korea marked its 76th Armed Forces Day with a ceremony that included the display of a US B-1B supersonic bomber and a debut of its new Hyunmoo-5 ballistic missile. In his speech at the ceremony ahead of a parade, President Yoon Suk-yeol warned Pyongyang against seeking to use any nuclear weapons and derided what he called its illegal military cooperation with Russia, vowing stern responses to its provocations. After his speech, Yoon inspected the Hyunmoo-5 ballistic missile, unveiled for the first time after its successful test last year. Equipped with an 8-ton warhead, the Hyunmoo-5 is specifically designed to penetrate underground bunkers, Seoul officials have said. South Korea is set to hold a military parade through the capital Seoul that will include displays of missiles, tanks and aircraft flypast later on Tuesday. Typhoon Krathon caused disruptions in Kaohsiung, with public transportation services suspended and many businesses closed. Business owners like Wang Pao Chuan were taking measures to protect their shops and equipment, but faced pressure due to lack of customers and ongoing expenses. Officials in the key port city of Kaohsiung, said to be in the eye of the storm, told people to stay home and avoid the sea, rivers and mountains, warning of a repeat of 1977's Typhoon Thelma that killed 37 and devastated the city of 2.7 million. Although the typhoon has weakened, the threats from a storm surge, strong winds and rain remain as it slowly makes its way towards Taiwan's coast.
The ongoing economic crisis of Pakistan-occupied Jammu and Kashmir has severely impacted the government employees in the area, as the local administration now remains economically incompetent in awarding them their well-deserved compensation. Recently, ad hoc employees of POJK staged a protest to demand the implementation of a 2021 legislation which promised them permanent positions in their respective departments. The protesters accused the local administration that while their counterparts in Pakistan have been regularized, they continue to face job insecurity and low wages. We have a report.
Ad hoc employees belonging to various government departments in Pakistan-occupied Jammu and Kashmir showcased their dissent in a protest recently. While sitting in front of the Central Press Club Muzaffarabad, the employees called upon the government and demanded their long-awaited regularization. The local administration currently fails to enforce a 2021 legislation which promised the regularization of non-permanent employees. These protesters highlighted that while employees in other parts of Pakistan have been granted permanent positions, those in POJK are often laid off at a moment's notice.
जब अदालत ने भी आपके लिए अच्छाई दे दी कि जी आप कर लें, हुकूमतें किस लिए होती हैं? हुकूमत की मदद लोगों के अवाम के लिए, अवाम के खिलाफ। दोबारा मेरा सवाल है, एक डाक को निकाल कर दूसरे को लगा देना, ये कोई अक्लमंदी है? अब बाकी रह के जो 5 साल बचे हुए लोग, जो 5 साल जिनकी नौकरी कम है, लगाए इश्तिहार में वो लोग भी।
The problem of improper compensation amongst ad hoc employees, especially in POJK, is a long-standing and contentious issue. Contractual employees face job insecurity and often receive lower wages than permanent staff, despite performing similar duties for several years straight.
ये जुल्म है, ये सरासर जुल्म है कि आप डाक बुनियादों पर अपना निजाम चलाने के लिए लोगों को भर्ती तो करते हैं, नौजवानों को भर्ती तो करते हैं, लेकिन उन्हें मुस्तकिल नहीं करते, और जब जीत जाता है आपका, आप उनको फारिग करके घर भेज देते हैं। इससे बड़ी तो की और क्या बात होगी कि हमारे बहुत सारे यहाँ चेहरे मुझे नजर आ रहे हैं जो इस वक्त ओवर एज हो चुके हैं, इनका कोई पुरसाने हाल नहीं है।
Not only on the economic front, residents of POJK continue to struggle for basic amenities necessary for survival. Pakistan's occupied territories, despite having abundant natural resources, repeatedly urge the government for basic amenities like clean drinking water, uninterrupted electricity, and employment opportunities. The POJK government remains incompetent and ignorant towards the issue of these residents, and the struggle for POJK locals seems to continue without a slight ray of hope for a better future.
Moving on, Navratri is a festival that celebrates the divine goddess and the triumph of good over evil. Navratri, which means 9 nights, is a festival dedicated to the goddess Durga and one of the most revered festivals in the Hindu religion. It is celebrated in the bright half of the Hindu calendar month Ashwin, which typically falls in the Gregorian months of September and October. Though observed for different reasons and celebrated differently across various parts of India and Nepal, the core reason behind the celebration remains the same, that is, victory of good over evil. So today, in our series of culture stories, let's have a look at this year's Navratri festivity.
People from all across the India got soaked in festivities as the 9-night Navratri festival kicked off. Millions of devotees swarmed temples to offer prayers and observe fast as a part of the occasion that is dedicated to all 9 forms of goddess Durga, the destroyer of evil. Vaishno Devi Shrine in Jammu Kashmir's Katra town saw a heavy rush of pilgrims who turned up in large numbers to offer prayers and seek blessings.
मैं बस एक ही वर्ड बोलूँगा, दैट मीन्स अगर कहीं दुनिया में स्वर्ग है तो वो है वैष्णो माता का दरबार। अगर आप यहाँ आते हो तो आप यहाँ एक अलौकिक शक्ति का एहसास करते हो। एक ऐसी मनमोहक स्थिति हो जाती है कि आप पूरी दुनिया को अलग तरीके से देखना स्टार्ट कर देते हैं। और भक्ति में वो शक्ति है कि आप प्राचीन से ही चलती आ रही है।
Devotees also dressed up in crisp new clothes and made elaborate offerings to the goddess to appease her and prayed for the well-being of their loved ones. Women seek good health, prosperity and happiness for their families, and the songs they sing are to evoke the blessings of various goddesses.
आज के दिन भगवती कालिका के दिन में लोग जो है अपने व्रत का और अनुष्ठान का शुभारंभ माँ का दर्शन करके करते हैं। तो आज जो है लाखों की संख्या में भक्त लोग जो है माँ कालिका के दर्शन के लिए आए और आज उन्होंने अपने व्रत का जो है शुभारंभ किया।
In neighboring Nepal, the festival was marked by celebrations involving prayer, music and fasting among men and women. The largest and longest running festival for Nepali Hindus, the Dashain, officially began with the planting of barley and maize in a jar filled with soil and cow dung. This first day of the Dashain, known as Ghat Sthapana, involves placing a sacred jar in a special corner of the house for 9 days, which is then removed and worn on the head along with tika on the forehead on the 10th day. At the Dashain Ghar inside Hanumandhoka Darbar Square, a UNESCO World Heritage Site in Kathmandu, barley shoots were planted at the auspicious time. The Gurju Paltan, a military force formed by Prithvi Narayan Shah, the unifier of modern Nepal, fired shots into the air to mark this auspicious time. Following Vedic rituals, a diya, kalash and an idol of Lord Ganesh were placed in a corner.
परापुरा कालदेखि नै बडा दशैंको यो राष्ट्रिय चाडको उपलक्ष्यमा हामी नेपालीले नै मनाउँदै आइरहेको क्रममा हाम्रो नेपाली सेनाको सम्पूर्ण घरहरुमा हाम्रो चाहिँ यो घटस्थापना राख्ने चलन छ। विशेष गरी हाम्रो अझ यो दरबार यो हाम्रो हनुमान ढोकामा हाम्रो गुर्जु पल्टनको चाहिँ यो परापुरो कालदेखि नै हामीले चाहिँ घटस्थापना दिन चाहिँ शुभ साहित्यको समयमा हामीले चाहिँ जमरा राखेर हामीले यो चाहिँ आज नित्य पूजा गरेर हामीले जमरा राख्ने कार्य गर्यौं।
Priests at Hanumandhoka set up the diya, kalash and an idol of Hindu god Ganesh, planted the barley and worshipped goddess Mahakali, Mahalakshmi, Mahasaraswati and Bhagwati. The Navratri festival holds immense importance in Hinduism. It is believed that during Navratri, goddess Durga descends on earth to rid it of demons and bless her devotees with happiness and prosperity.
Now it's time for me to wrap up today's episode. We'll be back next week at the same time. This is Shivangi Mishra, signing off on behalf of the entire production team of South Asia Today. Goodbye and take care.